Hey guys, so now we're on to day 3. It's a pretty easy, simple day. We're just going to hem, and if you did long sleeves, cuff, and put your neckband on. I had short sleeves, so I don't have to do that, but the banding is very, very similar to your neck, so when I go over that, we'll talk about all of those steps. So I personally like the hem first. It's like a lot of people do leave it for last. If it's a circle skirt, I actually will do it before I even attach it to the bodice. So it's personal preference. So what I do is, remember we talked about this awesome marker, right? I love this marker. It is my favorite thing. I use it when I'm going to hem some circle skirts. I kind of just guesstimate when I'm folding it around. But things that are more straight, if this has a slight curve but not a really big curve to it, I like to use these. And I have a little 2-inch ruler, but I mean, it doesn't particularly matter what size ruler. I just typically use my smaller sized one for this. So what you will do, let me see if I can turn this, maybe, oh yeah, y'all can see a little better. So here's the bottom part of my thing, and I like to put this on here and give it about 1 inch. I actually don't remember what the pattern calls for, but you can measure it however much you want. I usually typically do 1 inch so that it doesn't fold up. And then I'll lay it on here, and then I'll use my marker here, and then I already marked mine. But basically, I just draw the line where my inch is, and I'll show y'all a picture. It doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see right here. You can see my line, right? So there's my line right there. So that way, you know how far you want to fold this up. So then basically you'll fold this up to the line. Like I said, if you want a bigger hem at the bottom here, you can make it 2 inches. So then that would give you like a whole inch hem. It's really personal preference. Most of mine I do about 1 inch, just so that I have enough that it folds, but not so much that it changes the length of my thing. So then what you'll do is you'll take this over to your iron, and basically you are just going to fold it all over and then iron it down. So I'm gonna take over my iron right now and go ahead and do that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so actually while I was over there, I decided I wanted it a little bigger, but I pretty much folded it on my purple line. So you see how this kind of creates this little fold when you iron it. It gives you a little guidance of where it's supposed to be folded, because even when you pull it out, it stays, I don't know if y'all can see it, but basically it just keeps it a little folded that way. And so all you can do, I cover stitch, but you can just stretch stitch, top stitch with a double needle. However you hem is perfectly fine. And then you're just gonna, I typically will start in the back portion or one of the seams. It really just depends on the print and how the sides go. For this one, I probably will start near a seam, but a little towards the back. And then you're just going to sew completely around, getting as close. I'm going to reverse stitch, so mine's a little easier to do, because I'll be able to see where this is. But basically on this side, what you want to do is you want to get as close to up here as you can, so that it lays down nice and flat. So go ahead and do that and come on back. Okay, guys, so this is your thing, top stitch. You see at the bottom here. You can see a little closer. My stripes were kind of on an angle on the front, which I did on purpose, so that's why they look like they're a little uneven. But so basically you're just gonna do that all the way around, and you can see, like on the other side, where I got pretty close up here, but not completely close, and you could always just cut it a little bit. Usually when it's this close, because I use the guideline or whatever, this part covers it up. But yeah, and then so your hemming part is all done. If it looks like it has a little bit of a wrinkle or anything like that, give it a nice press, and usually that'll come out. Occasionally it'll have like tunneling, which pretty much means you pulled on your fabric as you were top stitching, so you could just untop stitch it and retop stitch it back. Or if the iron nice little hit of steam gets it out, you are good to go. So next we are going to do the neckband. So this is your neckband piece. You should already had it cut out. There's measurements in the pattern, or you can also just measure your neckband. So you can just, I'm using this as an example, obviously, because, but you would just measure it with the thing. I like to measure the back side and then the front side. Just because typically if you just measure one, it's off a little bit because your front side's a little bigger than your back side. And then you would just add those numbers together. Like I did mine like that. While I did look at what the number was, I typically just measure mine to see. And one was 9 and one was 8.5. So it's added those together, which gave me 16.5. And then you times that by, I did mine by 8.5. Most people do it by 8, but my daughter doesn't like to have to stretch things to get over her head. So I do mine a little bigger. So you would just times, was that 16.5 times 0.85, and it gave me 14.86. So then that's my measurement that I would cut my neckband at. So go ahead and do that, and then once you have your neckband, you're then going to sew it together like so to create one big circle. So go ahead and do that, and then come on back. Okay, so once you have that, you should have a circle like this. Okay, so basically you're going to fold it out, and then you're going to fold wrong sides together. So I usually quarter it. You can do more than that, but usually quartering is enough for me. So basically this is my seam right here. So then I'm going to fold it in half on the seam, and then I'm going to put one where the seam is, and then one at this halfway mark. So basically now this is halfway. And then I'm going to put these two together. My two clips together here. And match them up. So you see my clips are matched up, and then I'm going to put one here and then here. And that is you quartering it. Like I said, you can definitely do more than that if you want to. And on bigger things, I will, but usually on kid neck bands, quartering it is about perfect. So this is very similar to how you would put on a cuff as well. You would sew it all the same together, except for cuffs, I typically only half, because it's a little tiny space versus a bigger space. So now, this is my neckband all quartered out. And so that's basically what you're going to do, is then quarter out here. So I do them individually. I fold the back in half, and I clip, where the halfway mark is. Same thing with the front. Oh, you can just do it like this too. Now, some people would just use the side seams as your quarter marks. I don't like to do that because, like we talked about earlier, one is definitely bigger than the other. So I typically will take mine like this, and then I will fold it in half, and then that will give me on this other side where my quarter is. And I'll show you once I clip this. You'll see it's not far off from where the side seams are, but it is, I clipped this together, off a little bit. So now this is my shirt all quartered out, my neck. But as you can see, like I said, it's not a lot. But, I mean, it's a good 1/2 inch off from where my shoulder seam was. So you just might stretch a little more than you need to, and not equally all the way around. So you're going to take your neckband. So you see, remember how you have 4 points? You're going to match where the seam one is to the back. So usually I'll do the seam one, and then I do the half one. So the front neck, just so that relatively is all good. And all you're doing is matching up where your clips were, okay? And then clipping them together. That's all. So now this is clipped on there. So obviously you can see that this, like if you did the math there, it's 85% of this neckband. So all you're going to do is from this point to this point is stretch it, and then sew it. And the same thing for here. You'll stretch and sew, stretch and sew, stretch and sew. And if it's quartered, you get about an equal amount of stretch all the way around. But I mean, you can half it if you wanted to. Sometimes it depends what it is. And the cuff would work the same way, except for, like, say this is my bottom cuff. You would line it up. You would line the cuff seam up with this seam right here, and then you would put it over top of it, just like I did the neckband, how I put them right sides facing, and it's down, right? You do the same thing with the cuff, and then you would just sew it around. Like I said, this is smaller, so you can easily get away with just halving it. Sometimes I don't even half it. It's about an equal amount of stretch the whole way around. So it really depends. So go ahead and put your neckband and on your cuffs on if you're doing that. If you have long sleeves, if not, just put your neckband on. Or if you had a hood, I know we're not going over that. If you go to Dark Market, I have done ones with hoods. And you can go and watch some of those videos, and it would go over how you do the hood, even though it's very, very similar to this, except for most hoods you don't stretch. It usually is the same size as your neck. So go ahead and go do that and come on back. All right. So then here is my neckband. Normally you just give it a nice little press and it'll lay down pretty flat, or you can top stitch it, and then you would just push it down. You would just push the seam down here and you top stitch all the way around. I know a lot of people do that. I don't typically do it, mostly because I'm just lazy and it's just for my daughter, so she doesn't particularly care. But yeah, then this is the Ryleigh tunic. Obviously the dress is a little longer, and then tomorrow we'll work on the leggings, and then we'll finish the leggings on day 5, and that'll be it. But then you'll have until the rest of the month to post your pictures. So go ahead and drop me a progress pic, and see y'all tomorrow.